Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeanne dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth. From copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing, they've got you covered. Tune in for expert guest interviews on all things marketing and business, and learn how to work on your business, not just in it. So, get ready to unlock your business potential and take it to the next level.
What if you're not stuck? You're just resisting the decision that would change everything. We're going to talk about that and more today with our guest. His name is Eric Zajac. His company is Easy Livin Coaching. So welcome to the show, Eric. We're thrilled to have you.
Why you decided to go into coaching and why you're so passionate about helping people and make their lives easy and to achieve the things that they want to achieve.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that question, right? So why does anyone want to go into coaching? It can be very interesting some days. A little bit about myself. Former Navy veteran, as well as 25 years working in IT from all different levels of information technology. As a result, it was causing a debilitating back and sciatic pain on multiple occasions in my life. And I'm a computer engineer by heart, and engineers like to learn things. So I started learning more and more about back pain, discovered the work of Dr. John Sarno, who was a physician in the 1970s and 1980s, who discovered the mind-body connection, and actually through his theories developed what he calls TMS, tension myostosis syndrome. And essentially, over years, we repress emotions and we push them down and we push them down and we push them down. And when it gets to a certain point, it bubbles out and it can manifest in our bodies as back pain. Now, you can imagine as a doctor in the 70s and 80s, how his colleagues must have thought of him, but he was right. So that opening allowed me to start to understand the connection between the mind and the body. And I went deeper during the pandemic and learned self-hypnosis because I really was in need of stress relief, like a lot of us were. Every time we turned on the news, we didn't know if we were going to catch a cold or die. So use self-hypnosis for that stress relief. It also taught me lots of other ways, taught me the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And then a couple of years later, my daughter, who had started college, she was a college golfer, started developing chronic pain, which the doctors found to be fibromyalgia. We went to a number of doctors to try to help her, and it all just ended with the same story. And as a result of that, my wife and I didn't know what else to do. And I said, what about this hypnosis? And I went and got certified as a certified hypnotherapist, then layered on transformational mindset methodologies from David Bayer's organization. And the two of them blended together were having some amazing impact on my daughter, where we were able to discover some beliefs that she had deep rooted. And each time her and I would meet, a little bit would improve. I can't say it was just like a one and done, because it wasn't. It was a number of sessions that her and I had together, but we got there, and she's made some remarkable improvements since then.
Wow. Is she back to golfing?
She does, but now she does it more for recreational than for college.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just curious, how did that go? Because it's not just a coach client, it's a coach daughter.
Yeah, so there is that. As any good 18 or 19-year-old is going to do, they're only going to take so much advice from their parents. But she was very open-minded, and together we discovered some beliefs that she didn't know that she had. And when they came out, it was just like she couldn't unsee them. And that's the beauty of this work, is just that when you start to identify those beliefs that you've been holding on to for years, it's like you see that thing in your face in the mirror, and it's just like every time you go into the mirror after it's, oh my God, there it is. And it's one of the things I love about this work. It's those aha moments that I have with clients.
It's so fascinating, especially working with your daughter.
That's so amazing. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And it's so interesting that he was way ahead of his time, which I imagine was probably something really hard, but it was really smart of you to head in that direction. I have no doubt that your daughter is a better person today for it, because I know I've had 18, 19-year-olds, and they didn't want to listen to what I had to say.
You're so right.
So one of the things you talk about, Eric, is the power of decision and how that affects us mentally, physically, and emotionally. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Let me bring it back to your first question about desire, right? Because desire really sets the impulse for change. right? And then after you have a desire, then you make a decision to want to achieve that desire. So your question may have sounded wrong the way you said it, but essentially desire is the setup, decision is becomes the catalyst to really start things in motion. So when we think of decision, everything that we do is from a decision, right? And what we find is that all the subconscious beliefs that we have essentially are a subconscious decision we made when we probably were too young to realize it. We'll take a lot of your audience members here, business owners. Let's say you grew up and you're hearing your parents talk about money and money being hard to make. Money doesn't grow on trees. Another one that I used to hear growing up was, oh, he must think we're made out of money, right? So you form these beliefs in your head to be able to manage what you're hearing on the outside. So those beliefs become these hardened things within us. And then what I have learned from this work is that those beliefs are nothing but a subconscious decision that we made. But here's the thing about decisions that's so powerful, and this brings it back to the quote unquote power of decision, is these are decisions we made and we can undecide them as well. We don't have to believe that money's hard to make for the rest of our lives. Instead, we can make a different decision. For me, it's water to the sea, money flows to me was my new decision when I realized I had this money belief. And then I look for evidence in my life of how money is flowing to me. So maybe I just signed a new client. Great. That's evidence that money is flowing to me. Maybe I got a bonus. Again, more evidence that money is flowing to me. Maybe the bank makes an error and then corrects the error. And as a result, I have $200 more in my checking account at the end of the day. Again, all just evidence that money flows to me. So we look for those beliefs that limit people, and then we help them. I help guide them to make new decisions that are more in line with whatever it is that they desire.
How do you get there? How do you get them there to recognize what they're affiliating words or a story with?
I have two methodologies. One is you and I can just sit and we could talk for a while, and I become a reflection of all the things you're saying. And then you hear that, we'll call it a lie, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not true. And as a result of that, and then hearing what I call your unintelligence, and I'm not talking about dumb or stupid when I say unintelligent here. So let me back that up. When I'm talking about intelligence, I'm talking about nature.
Okay, quick pause. This episode is sponsored by our Profit Clarity Masterclass. If you've been avoiding your finances and quietly hoping it won't catch up with you, we want you to hear this. You're not failing. This is incredibly common for most business owners. Most people don't avoid money because they don't care. They avoid it because it feels heavy, confusing, or stressful. In our free live masterclass, we're going to show you a clear, more supportive way to handle your finances so your business can actually support your life. You can learn more and save your seat at lessmathmoremoney.com. We look forward to seeing you there.
Right? You see a flock of birds flying. It's guided by an intelligence. You see a school of fish moving together in unison. One moves and they all move together. That's intelligence guiding. Think about how many times this morning you had to tell your heartbeat to beat. You didn't. Intelligence was guiding the way. So unintelligence is any thought that's outside of that natural intelligence, right? And then, so with some of the methodologies I work with, I have an attunement known as the two states of being. And when you're starting to feel feelings of constriction, right? That could be the fear, anger, overwhelm. Time feels like it's diminishing, right? Those types of things are indications that you're caught up in unintelligent thinking. My job as a guide here is to help you recognize, okay, so what does that feel like when you're saying money is hard to make? It may be true for you in the identity that you're living in now, but that doesn't have to be true going forward. The other methodology I have is I can work with someone in hypnosis, guide them down to a very nice relaxed state. And within this hypnotic state, then I can help them guide to find that belief, find even sometimes the source of that belief, change the meaning of the event that caused them to have that belief in the first place. And then like dominoes throughout their life, like that meaning has changed way back here at the beginning, and it changes all the way consistently all the way up to that point. There is some integration work that needs to be done, and I have some tools that I can help people with those as well.
It's got to feel scary, but also freeing when people get to that event and then they can start to change what it means. Can you share, without obviously talking about any person in particular, but can you share something that was really an aha moment for one of your patients or clients?
Yes, I had a business owner who came and saw me because he was having trouble with guilt about even investing in his own business. And what he and I did was, he was in what I call a rapid recode program. So he and I were meeting together, just doing pure hypnosis work together. And he really wanted to get to the bottom of, why do I have this guilt when I spend money? He backed it up to an event that happened in his life where he was recklessly spending and formed an association of guilt because he was apologizing to his wife for spending all that money. As a result, every time he pulled out his wallet, he would feel that tinge of guilt build up again. I shouldn't be doing this. I helped him experience that guilt again and make a new meaning about the guilt, right? The event is just the event, right? It's the meaning we make about events in our lives that cause those beliefs to get formed. So as a result of him changing that from guilt and actually talking to his younger self, spending that money and helping him realize, no, it's okay to spend this money, just not foolishly. As a result, after that session, he was back off and he invested in a program that helped improve his overall company's business, where he was doing Medicare consultation before. He's still doing Medicare consultation, but now he also invested in I think it was RSSA program, where now he's able to consult with people, his clients, on how to deploy Social Security benefits in the most effective way. But He was having trouble investing in that program before we worked together.
Yeah, it is funny how we all have, thinking back over our lives, the things that we've done and then how we beat ourselves up over it. And then we don't realize that program of beating ourselves up is still running in there somewhere. Life moves on, but we don't always, our subconscious mind doesn't always move on from the impact of that.
And that's part of the work I do with them, is just helping them recognize, hey, this is a mistake you made back then, right? Would the version of yourself make that same mistake today? And the answer is usually no, right? So if the case is then, why keep beating yourself up over it when you can forgive yourself for that past thing? And then sometimes that's enough for somebody to literally just start shifting their identity right there on the spot, from this person that feels guilty about spending money to, no, I'm making an investment for the future.
Yeah, I love that you talk about identity, because that has so much to do with it. Who do you think you are and who are acting like? We try to empower our clients to join our bookkeeping program. It's not just about bookkeeping. It's about embracing that you are the chief financial officer of your business. You have to take that role, and that needs to be part of your identity. But what you do fascinates me too, because a lot of it gets established when you're really young. And I guess as a parent, you don't think about that when your kids are that little. And it's very hard to manage that. I think they're just going to pull out what they're going to pull out, aren't they? It's just going to stick what's going to stick.
Yeah. So before age 7, and this is what the science tells us, is that essentially we're in this brainwave state known as theta, right? So you hear psychologists and psychiatrists talking about kids are like sponges up until a certain age, and they're 100% right. So about age 7, we start forming the prefrontal cortex of our brains. And at that point there, we're more conscious. But up until that point, we're in this theta brainwave state, which is essentially just means our brainwaves are slower and we're more perceptible to the world so that we can learn how to live, right? So think about it from an evolution standpoint, right? We grew up on the savannah. We had to basically learn by watching others, and that's how our brains evolve. But in this day and age, it's not as effective to be watching our parents coming home from work, griping about work, because we have mirror neurons and we mimic what we see.
Yeah. And if someone's had a lot of trauma under the age of 7, I guess that's something they have to go back and figure out and work on, correct? Because again, like you said, we're sponges at that age. We're not able to filter out what should and shouldn't come in or out. At that age, are we actually making conscious decisions about what we choose to believe, or are we just believing whatever we're seeing?
That's a good question. I've seen this before with some of my clients of where they grew up in an abusive household growing up, and they form an association that it's not safe to speak up. And so my work with them has been going back to that event originally, giving that younger self love, which is hugely important, and allowing that person to forgive the person that caused the trauma, because essentially that person didn't know any better either, right? Pretty much everything that we're doing and everybody you meet out on the street, they're all just reacting and responding from the level of consciousness they're in, right? Their awareness. So if somebody grew up in an abusive household, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying you can kind of see why they have the reactions and responses that they do to life.
Yeah, that same hurt people, and understanding that. And I think that's what's so amazing about entrepreneurs and business owners is I think we're conscious enough to know that we want to improve those things. And I think that's one of the things I love about being in the space is that we know we're doing the best we can do on most days, but we also know that there's work to be done, like working with someone like you to figure out how we can clear the traumas or the beliefs so that we can improve and be better. And I think that's one of the things I love so much about entrepreneurship is people are, and they're also open to talk about this. So are a lot of your clients business owners?
Yes.
Okay, I love that.
And the other thing too, a lot of my work with them is just teaching them that you have everything you need already. Essentially, my work with them is just helping them identify and either transform or dissolve the resistance they have to getting what it is that they want.
Working with the subconscious mind the way you do, that's what gives lasting results. Is that kind of the power behind it?
Exactly. So when you're working in the subconscious mind, that's the home of where our beliefs, our patterns, our habits, all those bad memories, that's where they all reside, is in the subconscious mind. You don't typically have direct access to your subconscious mind. You and I talking right now, we're in what's known as a beta brainwave state, and that's focused more on the prefrontal cortex, and you and I are just having a talk at the conscious level. When we're talking about the subconscious mind, we're right at the root of those limitations and resistance that we have. So when you transform it and dissolve it right there, you're essentially just dissolving it right at the root. There's no more problem anymore after that root has been transformed or dissolved.
Do you find that people, when they get to the core of one issue, are they ready to move on to other issues? So do you find that people are doing the work, like you said, they can resolve one thing and get to the core of that? Do you feel like that then opens them up to be maybe a little bit more conscious or willing to work on other things as well?
Yes. What I have seen is that you clear this essentially a surface level belief, and it's like that brings up the opportunity to clear the next thing underneath it. And then as you get deeper and deeper, it's like you're seeing lives transform right there.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you just got to get rid of those surface level beliefs first to really get down to the core.
Yeah. It's almost like being forgiven for something. You know what I mean? Something you've carried around for so long. Maybe you thought someone was upset with you, or, and them saying, no, I'm not upset with you. And that kind of dissolve. That's what I'm imagining it. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. Imagine in kindergarten, right? Little Susie was supposed to meet you at the water fountain, and little Susie had to go to the bathroom. And you went to the water fountain, little Susie didn't show up. And as a result, your brain just developed this belief of it's not okay to trust people. And you carry that belief for the rest of your life until you're ready to take it on. And that's what I'm here to help people do, is just take that on.
Wow, we're so grateful for people like you. And I love that. I love, like Kirsten said, this entrepreneurial space, because so many of us are taking what we've learned, the hard lessons that we've learned, and then expanding them and then helping others. So we're so grateful for people like you helping others, Eric.
And you two are helping people as well, right?
We're trying.
So we joke because talk about trauma and things we don't like. Money has a lot of shame and guilt for a lot of people. And sometimes when you think about something like bookkeeping, we don't enjoy doing it. We hate it. It causes us anxiety. Sometimes it's hard to recognize that there are people who actually love doing bookkeeping. That's their jam. That's their superpower. And it's so exciting when we see someone when they fully get that, when they start working with the bookkeeper, and they're like, this person's excited to do this and they love doing this. And it changes the feeling about delegating, because I think sometimes when we find something stressful or causes us a lot of anxiety, we can't really imagine that someone else enjoys doing those things.
Right. And if you're coming in with the energy of, I hate doing this, guess what? You're probably not going to be as effective and efficient as somebody who loves doing it.
Yes.
They're going to find all the little nicks and knacks that you would have missed.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Sure. Eric, I know there's a lot of people listening who are saying, okay, I need to talk to him. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Best way to reach out to me is probably just by email. Eric, ERIC, at ezlivin.biz. That's Eric at ezlivin.biz. Or check out my services out at www.ezlivincoaching.com.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that all in the show notes. So we love hearing about you, people like you who are helping people heal. And some people might think they're kind of new modalities. And I guess in some ways they are. I wish we had them a long time ago, but it's good that we have them now and we're using them now. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much for the time and having me on your show.
Thanks for listening to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.